Another episode of Post-Fades and Cheesesteaks. Got episode 64. Really getting up there.
I know.
I don't think we're gonna make it past like 5, but here we are. We have a lovely guest today. Everyone welcomes to Fluri. Round of applause.
Thank you. More proof that we will literally take anyone. If anyone is watching this thinking, "Oh, do I pull the trigger? Do I be a guest?" Just know we'll take anyone. As long as you bring the thunder and have the pulse. That's all we need.
You begged me to come on here.
Fluri, we're happy to have you. Honestly, I needed some more. We're missing out on some comedy. That's what I needed you here for.
Comedy.
I'm a good comedic relief.
Oh, of course. With your nonsense, I'm expecting. I'm planning for it.
I thought your takes were the comedy relief, Tim.
No. I give stone cold solid hot takes all the time, anytime.
Okay.
My dog may or may not bark this entire podcast.
It's all right. We've had plenty of animals as guests, so
yeah, I deal with the Jurassic Park with Dakota all the time.
It's true.
I just know when the mute button comes on and all the animals start making noises, I just have to ramble on a little bit longer.
Yeah, that's your cue.
Yeah, if anyone gets on me about rambling, just know that most of the time is because the animals are going off.
Yeah. Real quick before we get into the football, we did have a championship crowned the other day. The Milwaukee Bucks won the NBA Finals. Hell of a performance from Giannis. He put up 50 points, and then the next day went to Chick-fil-A and got a 50-piece McNugget meal or Nuggets meal.
Half lemonade, half Sprite too. And I can confirm delicious. Can confirm delicious.
Confirm.
Super refreshing.
They can start marketing that as the Giannis drink.
If that video, didn't go so viral, I would have made it my own. I would have named it after me. I just said I can't create the whole thing.
No one would drink it. The Tim juice. It just doesn't sound. It doesn't have a good ring to it.
Tim juice.
Sounds kind of catchy, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah. Any thoughts on that before we get into the running back rankings, which that'll be fun. But
I got to say that was the 50-point performance to lock up the finals and the finals in general. He just dominated. Oh, yeah. Really, really impressive performance. I'll give you a hat tip to you because you made the prediction from the conference final preview we did that the Bucks were going to win 6 somehow.
I did. I'm a genius.
I felt like a moron because I thought I made the prediction. I went through all the time to find that clip and then just to find out you were the one to do it. So I'm assuming since you made one of the more impressive predictions you've done since we started doing this, you're going to be full of nonsense today. Living off that glory. But hey, other than that, fear of the year. It was a good season. NBA's over. Finally, we can now talk about Ben Simmons trade rumors, but for another day. So let's get into the running backs.
Trade rumors. Yeah. But no, yeah, I think it was a good finals. Like you said, it's not like to win in 6 games is not that outlandish to predict. So I'm not like that big about it, but it's nice to get something right, every once in a while. So.
Yeah, I didn't watch a single second of the NBA Finals.
Fair enough.
Great insight. Well, like I said, we don't. The bar is not very high for these guests.
The only game I watched this season was the one with you guys at the Irish Horn in Richmond.
Oh yeah, that was the only game.
Yeah, that was the only game I watched.
Nice.
Fair enough. You got to see the Sixers losing 7. So when everyone starts screaming nonsense and how much they hate the Sixers all off season, you'll be cued in because everything in Game 7 wrapped up all the hatred. You understand. All righty. Well, I know this is your first time, Fluri, so we always let the guests start. So, we upgraded this year. We're outside the top 10. We're an honorable mention club now. So you got 2 or 3, 1, 2, 3 guys you didn't make your top 10 that you want to give a little shout out to?
Yeah. So I have 3. 2 of them I don't really care about, and 1 that I'm going to go on about for quite a long time.
Oh, here we go.
Oh.
Does he look great in shorts? Does one of these guys look great in shorts?
Why are you checking them out in shorts?
It's the best. It's the best angle. I'm telling you.
Oh,
it's a shorts.
Okay.
First guy is Austin Eckler.
All right.
Okay.
I just think he's very versatile. Last year, in only 10 games, he almost had 1,000 yards from scrimmage, 4.6 yards per carry. I just like what he can do with that offense. I would have put him in my top 10, but this was a tough list. I know you guys gave me a lot of shit for putting this off, but it was tough. So he just missed my top 10.
I like Eckler.
Yeah, he's like Alvin Kamara light, I'd say.
He's a good player.
Yeah, very, very light, but
A light.
I like Eckler. He was in my consideration for my top 10. I did. He was right around my honorable mention border, but I like him. Yeah, I think he's going to be pretty solid going forward.
I agree.
Yeah, me too.
Didn't make my honorable mentions, but I agree.
Yeah, he was the borderline honorable mention for me. But all right, who else you got in these honorables?
Antonio Gibson, and I'm biased because he was on my fantasy team last year. But
here we go. The bias already being shown.
Last year, 1,000 yards from scrimmage, 11 TDs, 4.7 yards per carry, pretty good. In that Thanksgiving game, dude, I just remember watching that 115 yards, 3 TDs. I just think he's an up and coming back. I mean, he looked great. It was his rookie season, and he averaged 4.7 yards per carry. I think he's only going to go up. Yeah.
He's a good receiving back, too. I don't think he showed that enough as a rookie, but coming out of Memphis, I believe it was, maybe I made that up, he was known for his receiving prowess. Like, he ran routes in college.
He was a wide receiver esque type running back in college. He ran out of the slot all the time.
Oh, no, I agree. He's a guy, he didn't get my honorable or my top 10, but he's another guy I thought about, and I like his upside because I do like, that's that element you're waiting on. Like, he has it, and they didn't do anything with it. But I'm excited to see what happens.
That was your two. Who's the final mystery man?
And so I think you guys already know who this is. Najee Harris. He hasn't played it down yet, but
hasn't played it down yet.
I thought he was going to make the top 10.
So did I.
He was my number one for a while, but I was like, I can't be too ridiculous.
This is, you know what? This is why he needed an extra week of stat building and everything. Because he's like, you know what? Najee Harris is still number one on my list. I need a whole another week to build up my top 10 because Najee Harris can't be number one.
No, you know what it was?
At that point, he was my 1 through 10.
Yeah, I was going to say, you probably had 10 players for all Najee Harris.
We were 2 hours out from doing the episode last week, and Fluri's like, damn it, all I have is Najee Harris listed 10 times. I don't know if I'm ready.
You gave me a 24-hour notice. Classic T-Moles. Last second, his hammered ass. Oh, fuck. I forgot to invite Fluri.
Classic.
Regardless, Najee Harris, Alabama's all-time leader in TDs, and he beat out Derrick Henry and Mark Ingram to get that title. 46 rushing TDs. All-time leader in yards. He averaged 6 yards a carry at Alabama. Alabama's just known for running backs. I just have high faith in him, especially the Steelers. They're great at drafting. They have a great offensive organization, great offense. I don't know. I got high hopes for him.
Hey, fair enough. I mean, when you're whipping out the college stats, we just know you're really scratching for something.
Well, I got the Pop Warners too.
Okay. Good to hear. I mean, listen, I like Najee Harris. He's a rookie. I'm not going to get too jacked up on him. The offensive line that we all know is going to suck next year for the Steelers. Oh, yeah, that thing. Look at him shrugging up. Oh, that doesn't matter. Yeah, a little bit.
Their offensive line is completely different. You're right, but Pro Football Focus ranked their offensive line 31st last year. So how much worse can it get? It can only go up from here, I think.
That's a good. I mean, they could be 32nd. So
that is true. We can definitely get worse. We can definitely get worse. But hey,
that's barely worse.
I can't say I've ever
the whole revamp.
I don't know a single team that has ever revamped the entire offensive line with 5 new starters and ever went into the offseason feeling optimistic about that offensive line. But hey, Najee Harris, right? Good stuff on it.
Yeah.
All right, well, it's good. We started with nonsense. Why not end it here? Let's get some more nonsense. Give me your honorable mentions before I give you some cold, hard, stone cold facts.
All right. My first honorable mention is a Mr. Chris Carson of the Seattle Seahawks.
Okay.
I had him.
Not bad.
I had him, I believe, number 10 in my list last year. And he just
okay.
I've noticed some injury concerns, and something we touched on last time we did our running back rankings was his fumble-itis issue.
Yeah.
Likes to give away the ball a lot. So still a great running back. Just needs to clean his game up a little bit and stay on the field. But and then David Montgomery, I think, is a lot of people. Him and AJ Dillon, a lot of people are high on. I'm not quite there yet, but I think they're both starting running backs, both good players. So or not AJ Dillon, Jonathan Taylor, I meant. So those two, and then my final one, have to mention the boy, Mr. Miles Sanders. As much as I would have loved to put him in the top 10, I don't think he's shown enough consistency yet He's dropped some big catches. He's had his fumble issues. He's had injury issues. But I'm excited to see what this offense with a running quarterback, a lot more speed in the wide receivers, and just like get him the ball. That was always the problem in the Doug Peterson and even like the Andy Reid offenses, was that the running back just rarely gets the ball, or they're used as a receiver and then still not getting enough touches. So I like to see Miles get a lot more touches, and then we can really get an idea of how talented he can be. But he's definitely there for the big play. Like, he's one of the more exciting players in the league for sure. But
fair enough. I'm actually glad, because I was wondering if you were going to put him. And I bleed green. I would have ripped you if you put Sanders in the top 10.
I wanted to, but I couldn't.
So I know. I knew you were thinking about it. I know you will.
I definitely was.
So, all right, let me get to my honorable mentions. I have 2 honorable mentions. One of them Dakota actually already said. So I'm on agreement with you. And if we're agreeing this early, then we're definitely in trouble. So my first honorable mention is Chris Carson from Seattle.
Okay.
Like you said, he has the fumbling problems. He did not have a great year this year. He was hurt. He played 12 games, only had 681 yards. Dakota goes by off just nonsense for his rankings. I don't know what Fluri's going to do. He's a new wild card. But since you're new to the show, Flurry, let me just remind you, I have a system and a ranking procedure that I do, because I'm legit.
I'm a handwriting, bro. It's probably a bunch of nonsense, man.
It is nonsense.
Okay, but it makes sense. So I factor in last year, next year, and if I started my team with you, just to remind everyone from home. I can't say Carson's outlook is great. I mean, he's playing against Russell Wilson for right now, but Russell Wilson went out of his way to say his offensive line sucks. And regardless of what Flurry says, that is very important for a running back. So Carson as my first honorable mention, and my second honorable mention, which I think is actually going to get you guys in a little tizzy, because I think that I had him in the top 10 and I bumped him out. I went with Josh Jacobs from the Oakland Raiders.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Josh Jacobs of I thought you were going to say somebody else.
No, and you know what? This one hurt me because I really wanted to put him in the top 10. And he deserves it, because his 2 years in the league, he went over 1,000 yards each time. He's got 19 touchdowns in his first 2 years of his career. And this was a tight list. And you know what? Like I said, 2 of my ranking, qualifications has to do with the future. And I'm not going to ignore the fact that the Raiders just gave away their entire offensive line. They had the one of the best offensive lines for his entire career so far. And then they just went and gave away 3 of their starters. So that definitely played a factor. I'm not as high on his outlook as I am with the other guys. And mostly it's the Raiders being dumb that I think is going to hurt him. He's the only successful draft pick the Raiders have made since Gruden's got there. And they just gave away all of their offensive linemen for a horrific cap situation. So, he's a great player, probably a top 10 talent from what he's done and, where he's at now. But going forward, he knocked him out to number 11. So, with that said, Flurry, let's break the ice. Who do you got in a big old 1-0?
All right. Well, speaking of Josh Jacobs, I have him as my number 10.
Talk about a transition.
I know. It was pretty good.
We're good at those.
It was between him and Austin Eckler. This list was tough, man. I really have high hopes for Austin Eckler this season, if he can stay healthy. But yeah, Josh Jacobs, like you said, he's powerful. He's explosive. Back-to-back 1,000-yard season, like T-Mole said, 19 touchdowns the last 2 seasons. The thing that concerned me is obviously the 3.9 yards per carry last season, but he's very talented, man. The eye test, I go by that a lot. He just looks good as a running back, and I have faith in John Gruden and Derek Carr, even though he hasn't lived up since the borderline MVP season.
Tim does not have faith in Derek Carr.
We're big. Where have they gone? What have the Raiders done? They just middled and wasted all the draft picks that they were going to rebuild around Derek Carr. And
is that on Derek Carr though?
No, but you know what? A good quarterback can make up for some of the issues that you're making, and he hasn't. His best season, his borderline MVP season, which I'll give you, was a very good season. That team was loaded. You had Amari Cooper. You had a nice offensive line. Things were going his way. You had a good defense led by Khalil Mack. Things were going his way. Broke the leg. Hasn't been the same since. I have no issues with Jacobs at 10. Obviously, I already gave you my points, and I will say, you're a first-time guest, but you're learning quickly. Whenever you, reason with me and use some of the stuff that I've already said, you're already off to a hot start.
Yeah, man. I wish I didn't have to. I was dreading it the whole time I was saying it. I was like, I'm agreeing with your team on that.
Listen, I like Jacobs. I just think he's more like he's been behind a great offensive line. He won't be anymore. His yards per carry is scary because I think he's another guy who gets a lot of yards because he gets a lot of carries.
True.
He does.
Listen, I have no gripes at number 10 with Jacobs. No gripes at all. So, Dakota, any gripes?
No gripes. I will say, though, Derek Carr has to be the most mentioned player who's never made any of our lists to be on our, like, I think we talk about him every other, like, 5 episodes. I don't know how.
That's funny.
Because you know what? Gruden, when he traded away Cooper and he traded away Mack, I stick by this. He should have done something with all those picks to get a new quarterback, and he didn't. He's out of draft capital, and here he is. I think the Raiders are going to be.
There were rumors he was trying to move on from Derek Carr, wasn't he? When he first took over
for like the past 5 years. Yeah.
I don't understand. You had all those draft picks. You could have got whoever you wanted in the draft. You could have traded up and gotten whoever you wanted. Why don't you want to build around your guy, especially if you're Gruden? But listen, we digress. We're doing running backs.
Mm-hmm.
Who's number 10?
So, Tim, I am completely ready to listen to you complain about this player because of how many games he played.
Start. Here we go. What are you saying?
And I took him off, and I had him as an honorable mention, and I just looked at. I was looking at his, highlights again, and I'm just like, the talent is so good, and I think his team is going to be a lot better. So, number 10, I have Mr. Joe Mixon.
Wow. Hold on. Let me just cut you off for a second. I will let you get, Kanye West here real fast, but
you always cut me off.
Wait. I will let you finish this. Hold on. I'm going to say right now, number 10, I have Joe Mixon as well.
What?
Oh, no.
Well, go ahead.
I hate this. But, yeah, I mean, last year he only played 6 games, but the previous 2 seasons were both over 1,000 yards, both over 5 touchdowns in each. He's a workhorse. He's a beast when he gets the ball going. And for as bad as the Bengals offensive line is, because, I mean, they got him and Joe Burrow hurt. But I think, they added some good pieces on the line to make it a little stronger. And I just think that offense is going to be fast. Like, I know there's still some concerns with the line and protecting Burrow and giving him time. But, I mean, Jamar Chase and a healthy Mixon and Higgins. And I think this Bengals offense is going to surprise some people if they line can get it together. But yeah, I just really like his game. Like, he's just a really instinctive running back, like great feet, great footwork. And I think I saw on PFF, they said he only averaged, I think it was like 3.6 or 3.9 yards per carry last year, but 3 of those point yards was after contact. So he was only getting like 0.9 yards before he was getting hit, which is a testament to how bad the line was. So I think he'll have a bounce back year. Like I said, I think Cincinnati's primed to have a nice offense for once in a while. But go ahead, Tim.
I can't believe this is the one we agreed with. I have 2 running backs in my top 10 who I thought were going to cause a stir. This being one of them.
Okay.
And I'm not gonna lie, I agree with everything you said. I do think the offense is going to improve, obviously, with Burrow, and I thought Jamar Chase was, that's the guy who I wanted the Eagles to draft before they traded back. He's awesome, so I like that. Like Joe Burrow, Mixon, and Chase as your foundations for your offense. That is a strong group to build around. The offensive line's the issue, but I'm a little more optimistic about the offensive line. And I'll tell you why. Jonah Williams, first-round pick 2 years ago, got hurt the rookie year. His rookie year pretty much was last year. He's going into second year. He's going to continue to get better. They signed Riley Roof, who is probably the best offensive lineman on that team already once he comes in. They drafted in the second round a guard from Clemson, Jackson Carman. And here's the one thing, because when I was doing my research, and this didn't take me a week and a half like Fluri needed for his research. In 2019, the Bengals fired their offensive line coach, Frank Pollock, and Joe Mixon was pissed, tweeting about everything.
I remember
They hired him back this offseason as the run game coordinator. Nice. And I think things are set up for him. And I mentioned this when you were talking about Eckler, Flurry. Mixon is a good receiving back. I don't think they've used him enough in it just because there's
you're right about that.
Well, they're horribly run. Well, now he's gone. Bernard's gone.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing. When running backs get big contracts, that shows that they're highly looked after. He's already got the bag. They already gave him the 4-year extension. And the Bengals are a piss-poor run organization. But even whenever any running back gets the bag like that, you know that they're looked pretty highly upon in the league. And I don't want to repeat with what Dakota already said because I agree with a lot of what you said. I'm going to end it on this. I looked at his quote that Bill Belichick, the GOAT, said in 2019 after the Patriots smacked the Bengals. And he was, Joe Mixon is a good one too. He probably is the best back in the league. He runs so hard and is so hard to tackle. And I liked him coming out of college. I thought he was an incredible running back whose stock plummeted, obviously, because he had the off the field issues.
Yeah.
But the guy's a stud. I think the Bengals are holding him back. I think the Bengals realized
100%.
that. That's why they extended him.
Yeah.
But I feel good. Like I like Chase. I like Burrow. I like Mixon. I like the improvements to the offensive line. I still don't think it's a very good offensive line, but I like the improvements. You brought the coach back.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna have a big year. I mean, he still went for 1,000 yards, I think, twice already in his career.
Yep.
So I mean, he's not been a bum. So but his was a lot of, he's a young guy. My 9 and 10 are young guys I'm very optimistic on, and he is a guy I'm optimistic on in the future. I think he's only gonna get better.
Okay.
Yeah, he's his yards per carry aren't there, but you're right. His receiving stats, I think, are going to go through the roof, especially with Joe Burrow there now.
Oh yeah.
And Jamar Chase. It's
Yeah,
going to take a lot of heat.
That offense is going to fly. They should.
It's just the offensive line you worry about. That's the only issue. The guy's already putting up 1,000-yard seasons behind the worst offensive line of football. Imagine if he had a competent one.
Yeah, if the Steelers were 31st, the Bengals must have been 32nd.
Yeah.
That might have been.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that one. All right, number 9, Flurry, what you got?
This is a guy I was about to leave out of my top 10. Honestly.
I don't like to hear that.
Ezekiel Elliott.
Oh,
I only put him in because of the name. Honestly.
All right, number 9.
Okay.
I almost left him out. Here's the thing.
I almost did too.
I know there's a lot of
Cowboy.
Yeah.
That too.
Get into it.
There's a lot of excuses, like the line was hurt, Prescott was hurt. You know, there's reasons why he hasn't been doing as well. I mean, he had 979 rushing yards last season, 4 yards a carry.
Mm-hmm.
He just hasn't looked as good. And the thing is, a lot of times when running backs get a contract, I don't know what it is. Either the time they get it, they're already wearing down, or they just get complacent. You see it a lot. You saw it with like Todd Gurley. You get this big contract, and all of a sudden there's a drop. His yards after contact since 2018. In 2018, it was 2.8 yards after contact, 2.3 in 2019, and 1.9 in 2020. That stat is so important because that's not really about the offensive line. That's the running back. That's all him right there. True. And it's dropped the last 3 seasons. I just don't think he's a top 10 running back, even though I put him in my top 10. It's really just name only, and I think the Cowboys are going to be better this year.
Yeah.
But I don't know, guys. I have really big doubts about him and where he's going. Maybe he could prove me wrong. Maybe he'll have a big season this year, but I don't know. I don't know about Ezekiel.
This is a big year for him. And I had him as number 2 running back last year when we did the ranks. He's in my top 10, but he did have a big drop off.
Yeah.
I do agree with
3 last year, but
and I echo a lot of the same thoughts you've already made. I do put a lot more stock in the injuries that he had to deal with. You mentioned the yards after contact. Well, when your offensive line sucks and D ends and D tackles are the first guy contacting you, that's a little harder to get out. When your offensive line's awesome and the first guy contacting you is like a safety or, a cornerback or maybe an outside linebacker, that's a little easier to get out of. But no, I agree with you. He definitely fell on my list. He's definitely a top 10 running back. So I'm glad he made your list, but it's a make or break year with him, without a doubt. I am not to get too much into it. This is a make or break year for him.
Yeah.
And then,
contract wise too. I mean, you got Pollard behind him who could definitely take the workload. So
he's got to be a difference maker. Like he's getting paid to next year for everything, so we don't forget. But number 9, Dakota, who do you got?
So my number 9 is someone who Flurry already mentioned, Mr. Josh Jacobs. I was kind of in the same boat as you, Tim, a little bit, where it's like some things worry me, but just looking at what he's done and where he's going. I know the Raiders' offensive line is going to be getting a lot worse this year, presumably.
A lot worse.
With who they lost.
A lot worse.
Like Rodney Hudson.
They just traded away their 3 best players on the offensive line.
But I still have faith in him. I mean, apparently besides Derrick Henry and Nick Chubb, he's broken the most amount of tackles in the past 2 seasons, which is nothing to sneeze at. I mean, it's very good.
Yeah.
He's a strong guy. Let me pull up his stats real quick. I mean, like to have 1,000 yards in your first 2 seasons, and he had 12 touchdowns last year. So he's the workhorse. The offense really goes through him. I expect him to be used a little bit more in the passing game now. I mean, that's not really his forte, but you
think Kenyon Drake's going to be eaten into his workload though?
Kenyon stinks.
I think
stinks.
I think he'll eat into the passing game workload though.
I thought he was a bum when he went to the Cardinals. He proved that he was a bum. And now he's just going to the Raiders to continue to be a bum.
All right, I don't think I had Kenyon Drake in my top 10, but he did finish top 10 in rushing yards, if I'm not mistaken. But regardless, no, I think that'll just change their philosophy a little bit. I think, well, like what you said, Kenyon Drake will definitely be the more like number one option in a running back passing game. But I think if they design plays for Kenyon Drake to get the ball out of the backfield in a passing situation, that Josh Jacobs will likely get more attempts for that as well. Just because that's what their plans will be around. So I don't know. I kind of like that 2-headed group there, Kenyon Drake. I think a lot of people hate Kenyon Drake because for fantasy purposes, he was super inconsistent. But
he's a bum.
And he's a bum. But
you definitely had him on your fantasy team.
I like that backfield, and I think Jacobs is he's on his way to continued greatness. So
no complaints on Jacobs at 9. I had him at like 11, so I can't really complain. I think we all were thinking the same thing with him. We had 9, 10, 11. We all had the same idea.
Yeah.
So this one, and I'll warn you guys right now to buckle in, because this is the one I already know.
Here we go.
I know this is the one that's going to stir the pot. And honestly, I don't know why, because I'm going to explain to you why it shouldn't. So first off, let me start with real quick.
Okay.
He had the 3rd most rushing yards in the league last year. He had the 6th most rushing touchdowns by a running back last year. He averaged 5 yards per carry last year.
Oh, I know.
Which was as good as, guys we're going to talk about soon, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara. He's a rookie last year playing behind what we are, Dakota, last week talked about, probably the best offensive line in football, or arguably the best offensive line in football.
Mm-hmm.
I have no reason to not think he's not going to skyrocket next year. He's got a better quarterback. The offense in general, I'm really high on. I can't possibly think of a reason why you have any gripes with Jonathan Taylor at number 9. The guy dominated last year, 3rd in the league in rushing yards, 6th in touchdowns. I see his face. Sorry, I see Dakota with his face. When you mentioned him, you're like, oh, I might have put him as honorable mention. I was like, oh, you're going to be pissed when you see him at number 9, where he should have been. The guy,
I like that, Timo.
Dude, we just ranted and raving about that Colts offensive line. We did interior offensive lineman last week after you blew us off because you needed an extra week of research.
I saw that.
I had Ryan Kelly and Quentin Nelson, 2 offensive linemen from the Colts in my top 10. And Dakota, we didn't mention this, but I completely forgot. Eric Fisher is the left tackle for the Colts now. He's coming off an injury, but if he's him, he's solid. That's a good offensive line.
I didn't even realize
Taylor was the best center and the best guard in the NFL.
Yeah, Taylor is
so good.
I know he took him a little bit to get going. He's struggling early going, but he's a rookie. What else would you expect? He had 253 yards the last game of the season. That's the guy putting it together in his rookie season. I think we're going to see more of him. I mean, but also what I love, and I was looking into this more and more because his receiving stats aren't terrible. But the thing is, Nyheim Hines' receiving stats are awesome. They're a great backfield duo because I think Taylor's going to be a stud next year. And I think Nyheim Hines is going to do his role where he catches the ball out of the backfield and just makes it a little bit more difficult to stack the box against Jonathan Taylor. And I think Wentz is going to do well with Frank Reich and in that offense. I think that Colts offense in general is going to be pretty good. And Jonathan Taylor, mark my words right now, even you, Dakota, I can already see you hating on your face. He will be a top 5 running back on these rankings when we do it next year. Just wait. Wow. Just wait. You're sleeping.
You're aggressive with this
top 5?
Because I could already look it up. I knew of all of them.
No.
I knew this was the one that was going to be the tough sell. Because
I'm not against Jonathan Taylor in 9 to 10 to honorable mention range because I had him as an honorable mention, but You said he was third in rushing. Okay, this was a really weird year for running backs and rushing yards. He only had
he was a rookie and he was third in the league in rushing. Don't give me weird.
Third in the league in rushing doesn't mean anything. It's granted the 11 touchdowns.
Mean anything. Okay.
Hold on. 11 touchdowns is impressive. Only one fumble is very impressive. 5 yards an attempt is very impressive. But he had like 1,100 yards, and that was best for third. Normally in an NFL season, we see like, there's always a 1,600, 1,500, 1,400, 1,300. It was a weird year for running stats. I'm not.
We hit a 2,000-yard rusher.
Yeah, I don't know what you're saying. The league. Wait, I'm sorry. The league is getting more pass happy. The fact that we still have 1,100-yard rushers as a rookie is impressive.
We had a 2,000-yard rusher, a 1,500-yard rusher, and then a 1,000-yard rusher. All right. Oh my! All right.
You named every one of his stats that I just told you. You said impressive. The top three running back performance he put at rushing yards. That's not impressive. Everything else is impressive, but that
I would say Jonathan Taylor is in the 8 to 15 range for running backs, and I think he'll have a good year this coming up year. Like you said, very good line. But to say he'll be top 5 next year means that he'll be better than our current top 5. And looking at my current top 5, I don't see any way that that's happening unless one of these players just falls off. So
all I'm saying is
my only gripe with that.
Of my top 5 last year, 2 of the guys fell out. So their moving does happen. And here's my other thing, and I'll end on this before we get to Fluri's number 8. Because my rankings have a system that you guys just whiplash, throw names around like it's nothing to do with anything. Last year, top 3 rushing yards and top 6 touchdowns. That's a top 5 performance from last year. He's a rookie. Why would I not want to start my team with him? And he got a better quarterback. You could say the offensive line improved depending on what you think of Eric Fisher and Costanzo. Costanzo was hurt most of the year. Fisher's coming off an injury. I think he's going to be better next year than he was last year. I thought 9 was too low. I wanted to put him up higher, but I got some bigger names, which I thought would have been a tougher sell. But he's the top 10 run back right now, and he's going to be in the top 5 next year.
I'll just say, and Flurry, I think you would agree with me. I don't think I would ever want Tim to be my GM of a team.
Oh, no. Every time I get fantasy advice from him, it blows up in my face. So absolutely not.
No.
I do agree with his Jonathan Taylor statement for sure.
Thank you. There you go. Flurry asks for my fantasy advice. I tell him he doesn't do it. He loses, and then what I
do it, and then I lose.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
Tim's
changing the narrative.
Tim's like, if Tim was a musician, he would be a one-hit wonder because he just loves players that give him one really good year, and he's like, "That's all I need. That's all I need." You're in the.
I can tell his bias in every player he says. Every player he hates is somebody that ruined his fantasy team, and every player he loves is somebody probably.
I'm just baffled. I have a reasoning and a system behind my rankings. I don't throw names at a dartboard and hope for the best.
Tim just Googles top running back stats of 2020 and then says, he was third in rushing. He should be top 10.
Look, bro. Look, this is Timo trying to figure out what movie to watch. This is his brain at work, bro.
That's me thinking in a list. I'm a top 10 kind of guy.
I should drop the mic right there. This is what we're working with, man.
I think people would look at me and realize this guy probably just makes a list of every decision he makes in his life, thinks out every opportunity, and has a reason behind it. That was a good reason. And it led to a wonderful movie.
If I showed this to a therapist, bro, I could have you sent away.
All right. Well, when you send it to the therapist, just name drop Post-Fades and Cheesesteaks. They might be interested.
I will.
Tim, Flurry and I, we grow our beards to help store all of our brain knowledge. It sits in the beard. You don't have one.
Yes.
You're not.
He doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. He just doesn't get it.
All right. Well, Dakota's grasping at straws when he's bringing up the fact that he has a beard as an argument, a top 10 running back argument. So we'll move on. Flurry,
I bring that up when I can, every time I can.
Exactly.
What's your number 8, Flurry?
8, I got Aaron Jones.
Okay.
For me, he's like one of those backs that's really good. He's just not quite great. But 30 touchdowns the last 2 seasons. He looks great in Matt LaFleur's offense. Last year, he had 1,104 yards rushing, 11 total touchdowns, 5.5 yards per carry. Man, that's for a bust. He looks really good.
Yep.
With that offense, but he is somewhat a product of A-Rod, Devontae Adams, and Matt LaFleur. I think he just fits that system really well. And I think it was I know people don't like to re-sign running backs. I think that was a good sign. He just kind of fits that offense and what they like to do. So, I don't think he's great, but he's really good at what he does. And so I think he falls at number 8. I think that's fair to him.
So, Dakota, I don't mean to skip you, but I usually do anyway. So I agree. Fluri understands how to be a successful guest. Bring the energy and listen to Tim, because I also have Aaron Jones at number 8. So I have no grudge.
I went.
Yeah. Listen, I made my list for last Sunday when we were going to do this. See, I know your list was put together an hour before this, so I know mine was on. Yeah. But I agree pretty much with everything you said. He's durable. He's played, he's only missed 2 games last 2 years. You hit it on the nail. I mean, I know Aaron Rodgers is just huffing and puffing, but as far as I know, he's going to be the quarterback for the Packers next year. So I have no reason not to think Aaron Jones is going to be a stud next year as well. He's a touchdown machine. He's got 25 on the year, which is over the last 2 years, which is impressive. And listen, running back extensions are a good metric of where they are ranked in the league. They made him a priority. They made him a priority to sign and keep him there. And he's good. Last year we did these rankings. I had him at number 9, and I wasn't even thinking about putting him in my top 10. And I looked more into him. I thought more about it. And I was like, this guy is really good. And I came back and thought the same thing. I really wanted to put Jonathan Taylor ahead of him, but I was like, he's been consistent. I know. And I was hearing your voice in my head. Like, so no, I couldn't agree with you more. His 4-year career, 3 of those 4 years, he's a 5.5 yards per attempt guy. The 1 year, 2018, he led the league with yards per attempt. He was third among running backs with yards per attempt, behind Dobbins, who didn't have enough rushes, and then a guy that will be on our list later for all 3 of us. So he's stud. I mean, the offense is great, but he helps a lot, and he's a big part of that. But so Dakota, break up the why speaking. Give me something nonsensical at your number 8.
Hold on, real quick. I didn't hear any negatives about Aaron Jones, and you had him at 8.
He's a top 8 running back. That's pretty good. I don't have to bring him down at all.
Okay. You wanted to hear some cons as well as the pros.
I thought we were hyping people up here. We're doing a top 10 list, not
I'm just saying.
That's true.
No, okay.
I mean, listen. If you want to, my only negative with him is if I put him on a different team, and this because I have my 3 metrics. If I started my team with him, I don't know if he's a top 10 running back. If I started my team, I think I can come up with top 10 running backs, and Jonathan Taylor is a name. Absolutely, I would draft if I was starting my team with him. But you know what? He does play for the Packers. He plays with Devontae Adams. He plays with Aaron Rodgers. I'm not going to hold it against him that his team is really good, because you know what? He's also a part of that. He's a big part of that. He's the most consistent ground game Aaron Rodgers has had in his entire tenure with the Green Bay Packers.
Okay.
So but yeah, if you're looking for one negative, which Dakota, Mr. Grumpy Mumpy over there wants something negatively spoken about them, then fine. If I was starting my team, I don't know if he'd be as successful on other teams that he is and where he is now.
All right. So my number 8, Flurry and I are flipping back and forth here. I had Ezekiel Elliott at number 8. I was doing my research, like we said 2 weeks ago, and a lot of people. I was surprised to see how many people took him out of their top 10 or had him low in ranking all 32 starting running backs and stuff like that. And I get it. And I shit on Zeke last year when we did this rankings, because I was like, I had him at 3 because his offensive line is great. He has a good quarterback, good receivers around him. It's a perfect scenario. And then his offensive line got hurt and we saw him struggle. Still got a lot of yards, but he definitely had fumble problems. He was getting nicked up. Wasn't the Zeke of old. But you can't take away the fact that his previous seasons were borderline phenomenal. And
yeah, led the league in rushing.
I can't take him out just because of one bad season, which was it felt like a really bad season, but statistically it wasn't terrible. It wasn't that bad. But apparently, the day of recording this episode is July 22nd. Apparently it's Zeke's birthday. I will not be wishing him a happy birthday. as an
Look
Eagles
at you,
fan.
you're really putting the research in. I'm proud of you.
He's a fresh 26 years old. How does that feel? That no, he's younger than us. It's kind of gross.
If I ran a 100-yard dash, I'd probably pull a hammy. That's how gross it is.
Yeah, I feel that. But yeah, like his stats are still crazy. I mean, he's got 46 career touchdowns and 6,000 career yards, and so I couldn't take him off the list, but he's definitely at the back end. I think Tony Pollard probably is going to start pushing for more time. So I think Zeke's days as a Cowboy, I give it a max of 2 more seasons, but.
Well, I mean, he signed a 6-year extension last year. I don't think his days are numbered at all, and I don't think Tony Pollard's pushing the envelope at all. When you're giving this much money to Zeke, he plays regardless.
Yeah, you'd be surprised.
Dude,
I mean, he would be traded or cut at that point, but.
I'll leave this because I'm actually in the same boat as you guys with Zeke, but I'll hold it. I am getting to him, but yeah, I have the same thoughts as you guys. So number 7, Fluri.
No. I'm on opposite sides here, man. I don't think Zeke's good at all anymore. The only reason I put him in my top 10 is name brand, dude. I think running backs are volatile. Like you're saying, the top 10, it changes drastically season to season.
Yeah.
Zeke had great couple first seasons. You're right. And what happens is you get run into the ground. That's what coaches do. They run running backs wheels off. That's why they don't get these big contracts usually. And when they do, you see what happens. Like Todd Gurley, like the year he gets his contract is just terrible forever after that.
Yeah.
Zeke is just not, man. I think his days are almost over.
Hold on. All right. You know what? I'm skipping the order. I have to now. So my number 7 is Ezekiel Elliott. I had number 7 is Ezekiel Elliott. And you know what? I agree with what you guys are saying. And he didn't have a good year last year. And I understand with what you're saying. I know the contract, running backs decline. I get that. And he's had a ton of attempts. He's had over 300 attempts 3 of the 5 years he's been in the league. And I get that. And I do. But here's the thing. He's been the rushing title winner twice already. He's gone for over 1,300 yards 3 times out of the 5 years in his career. And I know last year was bad. But let's be honest. Not only was his offensive line completely hurt, but Dak got hurt early. He was playing with Ben DiNucci and Garrett Gilbert in the backfield. Find me a running back. Find me a running back that is going to succeed with a backup offensive line and Ben DiNucci as the quarterback. I had Zeke at number 2 last year, and I was a little high on Zeke. And you know what? Zeke had a barrier, but I'm optimistic on Zeke. I think Zeke is in a great situation. We just talked about Aaron Jones being in a great situation. If the Cowboys are healthy, you're looking at Dak, borderline top 10 quarterback if you want. They have a very good offensive line when healthy, and they have probably, you could make an argument, the best wide receiving core in football. So that team, I think is going to do really well with him next year, assuming all the pieces are there. Now, my biggest thing, and I mentioned this last year we were talking about, and this is the thing you can't really ignore because it's always followed him, and he had 6 more fumbles this year. Man, the guy continues to fumble the ball. That's his biggest issue. And that's something that I don't care who your teammates are. I don't care who gets hurt. That is unexcusable. You need to hold on to the damn ball. But the guy's money. He's still a stud. And if I was starting my team over, and regardless of what team it is, that's a guy I build my team around. You talk about decline. The guy's 26. He just turned 26 today. Happy birthday. He's going to play.
Gurley's 26.
Yeah, but you know what? That's a different case. Todd Gurley's knees aged worse than a used car does.
Ezekiel Elliott 26. What happened to him too?
You're naming guys that don't matter. Ezekiel Elliott has missed at most. The worst he's done is play 10 games a season. He's 15 games, 10 games, 15 games, 16 games, 15 games in his career. He doesn't show durability issues. The only issue he shows you is fumbling. I think last year was more of a product of the environment he was in, but he's still a stud. I think he's going to have a very good year this year. He is in a make or break year, and I agree with what you guys are saying with there. The pressure's on him. He's got to perform now. Yeah. But I don't think any running back would have succeeded in the situation he was put in last year. Plus, you factor in that defense was so god-awful. The Cowboys were never running the ball. They were always losing so quickly.
That's a good point.
Ben DiNucci and Garrett Gilbert and I forget the other guy's name. Oh, Andy Dalton, the Red Rocket, had to go out there slinging the ball all around. It was a tough year for him. He is a top 5 running back. I get last year wasn't a top 5 running back year, but I'm not going to forget that this guy's still a stud. He almost went for 1,000 yards last year. Like that, you can't ignore that. He's still a bruiser. he's looked like the best running back his entire career. Yeah, he had a down year, whatever. But I'm with you guys that he deserved to be pushed down. That's why I have him at 7. But I think he's gonna have a very good year this year. I think he's in a good system. I think things are in a good spot for him. I'm expecting to bounce back. So we'll see. But
I think
I'm not gonna kill the guy.
I think
off of a rough year for the whole team. So I didn't mean to cut the line. So go ahead, Fluri. Give me your number 7. But you guys
always do. You always cut the line.
But you guys wind me up. You get me going. You're talking about it, Elliot. What am I supposed to do?
Is every time? He just blatantly interrupts.
Every time. I do. Well, you were talking about Elliot. What am I supposed to wait until the smoke settles and then get everyone riled up on Ezekiel?
Hang on.
I'm gonna let the smoke settle on Ezekiel, then rile everyone up again when I do number 7.
Well, unfortunately, I have to feed T. Moles' overinflated ego once more. But
I love it.
Jonathan Taylor is my number 7.
Oh, really?
And you said pretty much everything I was gonna say. He can't. Towards the end of the season, man, he got it all together. That offensive line is fantastic.
Yep.
On December 13th against the Las Vegas Raiders, 20 carries, 150 yards, 7.5 a clip for 2 tutties.
Yep.
January 3rd against Jacksonville, 30 carries, 253 yards, 8.4 yards a clip, 2 tutties. I mean, dominate. That's amazing. It's fantastic. He's going to have Carson Wentz this year, Frank the Tank, running the offense. 5 yards a carry last year. Frank the fucking Tank.
I love
12 total touchdowns last year. I think sky's the limit for this guy. You're saying the offensive line. I mean, they might have the best center and best guard duo. I mean, of all time. It's crazy. Timo, you pretty much said everything I wanted to say. So
you know what? I can't believe you had him in the top 10 in this. I'm so happy because you know what? Sometimes I got to do episodes with only Dakota, and he just gives me ridiculous nonsense. Like Jonathan Taylor didn't even make his honorable mention where David Montgomery made it. Like, get
that's kind of ridiculous.
That's out of his mind. I'm glad. You know what, Fluri? You can come back whenever you want. Here's the other part, because I know Fluri loves college stats, as he mentioned with his boy Najee Harris. He was 23 yards away from his freshman year, going over 2,000 yards every single year as a college athlete, which is just unfucking heard of. He's the only one to do it twice. Wisconsin.
Wisconsin?
I don't think I said it like I was disabled. I just said it like it's normally said.
You gotta say it like T-Pain. Wisconsin?
Oh, okay, yeah. So just don't try to cover up the fact that you were hating Jonathan Taylor.
Hold on, wait. So let me just pull up yardage real quick. So Jonathan Taylor had 1,169 yards. David Montgomery, who you just shit on as being irrelevant, had 1,070 yards.
Was that less than Jonathan
8
Taylor?
touchdowns. That's pretty identical.
Wait. Were both those numbers less than Jonathan Taylor?
What was his yards per carry? That's more important.
That's a good question.
4.3, but
nowhere near 5. Oh, okay. So all of his numbers you brought up are not even close to Jonathan Taylor. And yet, he didn't even make your honorable mentions.
He was barely 100 yards under what he rushed for.
Yeah, what would you say about the touchdowns again? Because Jonathan Taylor had 11 of those.
Dave Montgomery had 8.
Oh,
and he only played in 15 games, just like Jonathan Taylor.
I don't think that helped your argument.
And only had 1 fumble.
Again, I don't think this is helping your argument. I think you're making yourself look more foolish than you normally do. I'm glad that we got it again.
Wait, what's the beef with Jonathan Taylor, man? Why do you hate
He just randomly picks players that deserve to be in the top 10 and just crushes them for whatever reason. I don't know.
It's not a beef. I like Jonathan Taylor. But every time Tim takes a player and he just makes them seem like they are like the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I'm just like, because he's like, Jonathan Taylor's going to be a top 5 running back next year. Like, he's going to take top 5 over who? Derrick Henry, McCaffrey, and Chubb, and all these players. Like, no. Like, pump the brakes. I think he'll be a top 10 next year, but
I had Ezekiel fall out of my top 5 last year. Just saying,
I'm not grinding on his ass already. Like, you all the way up in that fantasy
team. It's his fantasy team.
Probably.
That's what drives his opinion.
Hold on. Did you have Jonathan Taylor on your fantasy team last year?
I didn't. I would have won if I did. I don't understand why Fluri's now on your side. He agreed with me. He even had him higher.
Yeah, but I felt passion in his. You were just trying to like start a fire. You just didn't.
I just spit facts. That's all I do.
I don't know if they're facts or just numbers.
The fact that you have David Montgomery in your honorable mentions over Jonathan Taylor. So where did you have Jonathan Taylor? Like top 15? Are you out of your mind?
He was honorable mentions. I probably would have had him. So I had, let's see, I probably had Chris Carson at 11, Sanders at 12, and I would have had Jonathan Taylor.
So me and Flurry have given you numerous reasons and stats why he's a top 10 running back. You haven't given me one actual reasonable excuse why he's not even in your top 13.
Rookie.
Oh, okay. No, that's Dakota for you. Doesn't matter how. It's just if you're young, it doesn't matter. You suck.
Dakota, man, that was a little weak. Man.
Yeah, that's a lot. This is what I do with every week.
Come on now,
Tim.
I look at rookies as exceeding in their first year as impressive. He looks at it as a detriment.
Sure. Tim, slight preview for when we do wide receivers. I think with Billy, perhaps. I don't remember who the guest is. Would Justin Jefferson be in your top 10? He was a rookie.
Listen, we're doing running backs right now, but I haven't thought that ahead yet. He's definitely. I'm definitely going to consider him for top 10. I think he'd be a moron not to.
I'll definitely consider him. He might be a nominee, might make top 10, but he was going to be in that range of nominee back end top 10, not this. He's going to be top 5 running back. Like, that's all I'm saying is just pump the brakes. You're a little. What if Jonathan Taylor doesn't even, what if he's splitting roles with the other 2 running backs? Because they like to rotate a lot. And I think, I'm pretty sure they had injuries at running back last year. That's why Jonathan Taylor got the ball so much.
Well, Marlon Mack got hurt. What's his deal? Honestly, I didn't even look that
his
up.
Deal? He's the backup to Jonathan Taylor going forward. That's his deal.
Didn't he tear his Achilles?
Somebody asked him what his deal is.
Yeah,
it's backing up Jonathan Taylor.
Someone tweeted him.
You go ahead and tweet him. Just tell him, be like, yo, Jonathan Taylor sucks. I still believe in you.
Let me hold on. Let me see. Oh wow, Tim, don't you really abide by PFF? They had Jonathan Taylor ranked 16th coming into this year. 16th.
Listen, so we keep
know what they're talking about.
We keep talking about this. Dakota keeps referencing other lists that he finds on the internet. But here's the thing: I don't use those lists. I have my own list. My list is stone cold solid. I'd yell at the CEO of PFF that he has no idea what he's talking about. I'm that confident in my list. Just because you don't believe in your list, and you go scour through the dark web and the little darkest corner of the internet to find someone that relates to you, does not mean that I do the same thing.
Love your energy.
This is what I do. He just riles me up. And I'm glad that I have another logical person here with me. A logical person who actually had Jonathan Taylor ranked higher.
Yeah, I did.
Look, you know what? Hats off to you, Flurry. I love that. Because I knew he was going to be stirred when I put him at 8. And you had him at 7. Love it.
The good thing with this list is that any of these players mentioned are usually very good players. So Jonathan Taylor is a very good young player. I'm sure he'll develop into being a really good starter. I'm just saying, I just couldn't justify 7 or 8 after one rookie season that was pretty good. Not the best rookie season I've ever seen, but leads into my number 7
here we go.
Running back on the ranking, who actually had a much better rookie year than Mr. Jonathan Taylor and actually was 2018 AP Offensive Rookie of the Year, Mr. Saquon Barkley.
I see. Okay, all right.
Coming off an injury.
Saquon at number 7. Okay.
Coming off an injury. So I had to bring him back a little bit. I think I had him at 2 last year because, got to know what that knee's doing.
Yeah, of course.
But obviously he is a demon at running back. He had 2,000 yards from scrimmage his rookie year. 2,000. 2,000. Okay. And then second year wasn't as productive, but 1,000 rushing yards, 1,400 total yards from scrimmage. And obviously last year he only played in 2 games. So last year was pretty much a wash. But I had to drop him quite a bit just because of that injury. We've seen players like Adrian Peterson come back better than ever from an ACL. But, time will tell if he's able to do that. They have a decent backup, behind him. So if he's not ready to start week 1 or if he's still a little, rehabbing, they're not too pressed to start him right away. But, I'm rooting for, Penn State alum. I think he's from New York, but he did go to school in PA. I forget what high school it was. But, even though he's a Giant, root for his success. So I got Saquon at number 7.
I agree with pretty much mostly what you said, besides the part where you're like, oh, yeah, the Giants have a solid backup if he wants to wait. No, Saquon Barkley is that offense. I couldn't even tell you who the backup to the Giants running back is. Okay, thank you for answering that for me. Yeah, Saquon Barkley is that offense. If he's not good, they're in trouble. I don't want to hear Wayne Gallman's name, but we digress. I know
Wayne
I got
Gallman's all right.
all right is that's
like
a generous
3.9 yards per carry kind of guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Gallman, I mean, I'm not trying to hype up the Giants here because that's not what we do. But Wayne Gallman had 4.6 yards per carry, almost 700 yards, 6 touchdowns. He's not terrible.
Yeah.
I can't believe I listened to this guy hate on Jonathan Taylor, but I have to listen to him argue for Wayne Gallman. Like, wait, any sense?
He's not even top 20. I'm just saying you can plug and play him for a couple of games.
You're putting a stronger argument into Wayne Gallman than you are Jonathan Taylor. But
right, I will say Saquon's injuries are a concern, though.
It is a concern, yeah.
Not only the torn ACL, but I think it was his ankle in 2019. He missed a couple games, and that's why he didn't get as many yards.
Well, yeah, he also healed from a sprained ankle more faster than any human does.
That was ridiculous. Yeah, it was a high ankle sprain. That's right.
Yeah.
It
he
was
just,
second year he was hurt. He played 13 games and had more yards than Jonathan Taylor from scrimmage. That's crazy.
Oh, Saquon Barkley's a freaking nature. What do you want from the guy, man?
Yeah.
Come on.
Listen, I have Barkley ranked higher than Jonathan Taylor. I don't see why that's probably.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so obviously I went off on my tangent at number 7, so we'll get back in order. So we'll go back to Flurry. Flurry, you're number 6.
All right. So 6 and 5 I went back and forth with, but for number 6 I went Nick Chubb.
Okay.
All right.
Biggest thing is injuries. That's the biggest thing holding him back. He looks phenomenal. He looks so good running the ball. And it's funny because his tandem with Hunt is kind of like his Georgia tandem with Michelle. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Good point.
Last year, I think he played like 10 or 11 games. I forget. 1,067 rushing yards, 12 TDs, 5.6 yards per carry. That is ridiculous, man. That's so good. That's like Jamal Charles in his prime type of.
That is true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's more powerful and more rugged than Jamal Charles too. He looks amazing. Obviously, like I said, injuries hold him back, and Kareem Hunt, eats into his workload a little bit. But I hate to say it, but the Browns, they look like they're poised to have a big season.
Oh yeah.
As a Steelers fan, I don't want to say that, but I think Nick Chubb's gonna be a big part of that too.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, I like Nick Chubb. I have him on my list. I'll get to him, but I like Nick Chubb a lot. He's in a great system. Best offensive line of football. And like you said, the Sonny Michel point was actually hits the nail right on the head, that he has a perfect complement of Kareem Hunt. Perfect
Absolutely.
Complement. They're deadly. I actually consider Kareem Hunt for my top 10 in my own mentions. He didn't make it, but guy's good. He's really good.
Yeah, I also considered Kareem Hunt as an honorable mention. Like, I forget what game it was, but I watched one of the Browns games this past season where they must have ran for like 300 yards, and it was so like entertaining to watch them play bully ball, like just like run it down people's throats. Like they were running like first, second, and third down, just running the ball. Like Baker wasn't even taking a step back. Like that duo is one of the best duos I've watched at running back since I've watched football. So yeah, I also have Chubb a little higher, but I think you made good points, and he's also a freak of nature. Like he's just built different.
Yeah,
absolutely
scary man.
Yeah. So now it would be my number 6, who someone you both mentioned that I think was a little low, but I have Aaron Jones here at 6. I agree with the sentiment that he wouldn't be as good on a different team, but I feel like that's true for a lot of running backs on this list. Like I don't think Zeke would be as good if he was on the Bengals or a team with not a strong offense.
I think Zeke would survive on any team in the league better than Aaron Jones would, though.
Yeah, but what makes you say that?
Because I think Zeke's a better running back overall than Aaron Jones is.
I think Zeke's a better pure running back than Aaron Jones too. But no matter how good like the people around Aaron Jones is, like he still puts up really good, like really strong numbers. Like
I agree.
16 touchdowns 2 years ago, 9 touchdowns last year. He had almost 1,500 yards from scrimmage. Only 2 fumbles. He was averaging, 5.5 yards per carry. So that's pretty damn good.
It's pretty good. Not bad.
That's solid.
I think he's in that back half of the top 10 for sure. I don't think he's a top 5, but I think 6-7 is his range based on the other.
I mean, you have him at number 6. That's pretty close to the top 5.
Yeah, but I think the players I have at 5-1 are like elite level 1, and 6 to like 7, 8 are like really, really good players.
Listen, I have no issue. You're a little bit more optimistic than I am, but I'm just kind of curious here. When I said Aaron Jones, you made me mention a negative about him. It made me think that you had him ranked lower. You had him ranked higher than I did, and you wanted me intentionally go to my way to diss this guy when you had him ranked better than I did.
No, because you said all these great things and then have him at like number 8, and I was like, why isn't he not higher if he's so great?
I have better great things for other guys.
I don't know.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. Jonathan Taylor should have been in this spot, but we move on. So
don't make me throw
number 6 for me, a guy that was already mentioned. I think Fluri actually had him at number 7. A guy who I'm surprised Dakota even mentioned, because he had an incredible rookie season, but he's kind of fallen off since then. And fallen off. He's been on a terrible franchise, and he got hurt last year and hasn't played. But he's still a top 5 talent for this position without a doubt. And if I started my team, he's pretty near the top of the list. I'm worried about his next year. If he's healthy, he's going to be a stud. I think the Giants are better than they've ever been his entire career this year. Kenny Golladay is a good pickup. I think the offensive line's improved. I think Daniel Jones has to be good this year. Otherwise, he's out. But his week 1 status is in doubt, so it makes me a little cautious about his 2021 season, but he's still a talent. He's still a top 5 running back. I have just out of the top 5. So my number 6 is Saquon Barkley.
Okay.
The guy is an elite talent. When you just say, let me build a running back, it's Saquon Barkley, or it's something very similar to Saquon Barkley. But going with that, yeah, Saquon Barkley is a stud. I think we're going to see more rookie year Saquon than we're going to see from the last 2 years. We talked about the high ankle sprain. He only missed 3 games his second year. He just recovers from a high ankle sprain quicker than anyone else. Christian McCaffrey pretty much missed an entire season from a high ankle sprain. So I think he's durable. His knees, it's a big injury he took, the torn ACL to your MCL. Obviously has his week 1 in question. Mm-hmm. But this guy he's probably 1 or 2 if you're starting your team right now, 1 a running back. He is what your elite running back is. He showed being an elite running back his rookie year. And his team has been booty, but I think that they're better now than they ever have his entire career. So I think the future, as long as he's healthy, looks pretty good for him. So I could not put him any lower than 6, and that's where I had him.
I'm actually surprised.
I respect that.
I'm surprised you had him higher than me, because I was very high on him last year, and I think I had him at 2. You had him at 3 last year.
I did have him at 3, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, no, it's all definitely warranted. It's kind of sucks that the Eagles have to play against 2 top 10 running backs, and then Antonio Gibson, was one of our honorable mentions. So
I did like I like that pick by Fleur. I do think, I hate to say it, but I do think he's going to be pretty good, because the receiving element is something that the league hasn't seen yet.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So let's get right into the good stuff. Top 5. And honestly, I think we're all going to have very similar names. I'm curious to see what order we got them in.
I've heard names that all my top 5, except for 1, haven't been mentioned yet. So
yeah, only one of my top 5 is mentioned. There's one wild card that I'm curious to see where you guys have him. And I think we all know who he was, because he was your unanimous number 1 last year, but he also didn't play this year. But I'm curious to see where he's at. He's the wild card. Oh, look, you're wearing his jersey.
Yeah, I just want to say, if we don't all have the same number 1, it's got to be the most disrespectful thing we've ever done on this podcast.
I think we all know it's good for number 1.
Well, listen, I never want to get ahead of myself with some of your rankings you put out there, Dakota. So yeah, we should all agree on this one, but I'm not putting that out. But all right, let's break the top 5, break the seal. Let's go.
Larry, bat off for us, lead off hitter number 5.
Well, leading right off of Saquon Barkley, I got him at number 5.
Oh, no gripe.
7-6-5, I like it.
Yeah, it was 5 and 6. It was him and Chubb that was debating which one was going to be in the top 5. I went with Barkley. We already discussed the guy is like a genetic freak. He's like an alien. Like, he recovered from a high ankle sprain in like 2 weeks. It was crazy. But the ACL is concerning, but recovery methods they're so good these days. And what happens is they give you like a a cadaver, like an Achilles tendon, and that's something like 6 times stronger than a normal ACL. Or they'll use like your own patella sometimes. Either way, the recovery methods are phenomenal these days. Even better than when Adrian Peterson came back and I think he was like 9 yards short of breaking the single season rushing record the next year after his ACL tear. So the injuries are concerning, but I think he's going to bounce back. And like you're saying, he seems durable. I mean, recovering that fast from a high ankle sprain, he seems durable. So I have faith. He looks like a freak out there. It just, I'm all about the eye test. He just looks like Barry Sanders, but even more muscular. You know what I mean?
Like
his quads are bigger than my torso.
His quads, man. Let's just talk about the quads for a couple minutes. It's ridiculous. So this is pretty much all I have to say about him. He's an athletic freak, and I think he's going to bounce back.
Yeah, I think we all hit on all the good points for him. It's like Fluri we had a little bit of a kinesiology lesson here, talking about tendons and ligaments.
Look at that. Not bad. I like that. That's a different element. I didn't think the word cadaver was going to be brought up in the top 10 running back discussion, but I'm glad it was.
You never know on this, right?
I'm for it.
Yeah, I don't have any arguments with that. I did want to put him higher, and then I just felt more comfortable with the players I had ahead. And I kind of have a feeling Tim and I have the same number 5, but number 5, I had the starter of the Browns two-headed monster, Mr. Nick Chubb.
You know what? Great minds do think alike.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised Flurry had him a little farther back, but I mean, he's a demon. Like he's scary. Like he's such a strong, like 5.6 yards per carry last year. He only played in 12 games and still had 12 touchdowns, over 1,000 yards. He's like the fact that him and Hunt split a lot of carries and he still is just running people over, racking up the yards, racking up the touchdowns. And I mean, he's not much of a receiving threat. He only had 150 receiving yards last year, but that's not what his game is. His game is old school.
He doesn't have to be.
I'm going to run you over, get out of the way, freight train running back. So, yeah, I don't know. Tim, I'll let you kind of go into anything else, but yeah, he's top 5 in my book. So,
I mean, my number 5 is Chubb as well. I was in the same boat as Flurry, though. I was stuck between Barkley and Chubb. And it would have been disrespectful to Chubb to put a guy who didn't even play last year.
I agree.
Or played 2 games or whatever. And then, like, you're looking at Chubb, man, like, last year was pretty solid. But then you look at 2 years ago, he ran for, like, 1,500 yards.
Yep.
His entire career, his 3-year caur, he's never had less than 5 yards per carry. He's on 5.2, 5, and 5.6 this year. Yep. Like, that's nuts. He was 4 yards off his rookie year from going over 1,000 every single year. He's just a dynamite athlete, and he's such a problem in the running. You can't stop him. He's a train. He's got such explosion. He gets in the end zone. He had 12 touchdowns last year. He's never had less than 8 touchdowns his entire career in a season. I know, Floyd, you mentioned the injury concern, but he was 16 games the first 2 years each, and then he played 12 this year. I mean, sure, a little nicked up there and there, but this is back to what we said with Saquon Barkley. You look at this guy; he's a running back. He is a tank.
Yeah.
He's explosive. He looks like, you watch him, and you know how they do the next gen stats with all the good stuff, the speed and the breakaway and the nonsense. And you're watching this and like, he's going 22 miles per hour. He looks like he's jogging. Like he's just so much faster. He's jogging. It looks like he's jogging. He's just out racing every single player on the defense. There's no reason not to suspect that he's going to continue dominating. We already mentioned this last week where he's playing behind the best offensive line of football. He's got a great two-headed monster set up with Kareem Hunt, who, like I said with John Taylor and Nyheim Hines, Kareem Hunt does the stuff really well that Nick Chubb isn't great at, but doesn't really need to do.
Yeah.
Chubb is awesome. He's a top 5 running back who I think is going to continue to get better. Next year, I know our number 1, who I think we're all going to have, we expect to win the rushing title pretty much every year. He laces up. Chubb's going to come for that rushing title, and I think he's in a good spot to win the rushing title next year. So that's what I got on him. The guy's awesome. So number 4, Flurry, what do you got?
Number 4, I got Dalvin Cook.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to put him higher, honestly, but I didn't. he's an immense talent, but not only that, the offensive line. Pro Football Focus ranks as the most improved unit after the draft. They got those two. They got that tackle at the Virginia Tech in the first,
Darisaw,
and then the guard at Ohio State in the third. Yeah, Darisaw is the tackle, and then Davis is the guard. I just think, last year 1,500 yards, 17 touchdowns, 5 yards a carry. He's elite, man. He is the upper echelon tier of running back. I think he's going to have another great year. He's shown, he had that 1 year. I think that was his rookie year. He tore his ACL right at the beginning of the year, but since then he's shown durability. I think he's going to have a great year. I don't know about the Vikings as a whole, but him in particular, I think is going to go off.
Yeah, Vikings are a super inconsistent team, but
yeah,
I have Cook a little higher. But yeah, all the things you said, he's pure like talent wise, like he's one of the few running backs that not in his on the field skills, like what he would be compared to, but I look at him as similar vein to like a Barry Sanders, but not in the sense of like the juking, more so in the sense of like he is that offense. And I know they have Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, but like Dalvin Cook does things that shouldn't be like he breaks off, when there's a cluster of defenders, he somehow gets out of that, somehow breaks tackles. All the yards he has is produced from him. It's not like he had a great lane to run through or anything like that. Like he earns all of his yards. So I think in that aspect,
passes the eye test, man.
Yeah. He's
absolutely.
Just a pure, like gets down the field guy. Like no one's going to stop him. So, but I'm not upset with 4 because like I said, he's in my top 5 somewhere. But Tim,
what do you got at number 4 then, Dakota?
Okay, getting right into it.
I have no. I mean, like I said, I want to save it for a little bit. I mean, this is the thing. I feel like our top 5 is gonna be very similar. I just want to hold myself until I have my moment. I can't rip them because I think it's a good. I can't hate Dalvin Cook at 4.
Fair. So this was a guy I had kind of all over my list. I had him, I think at 3 or 2 at one point, and then all the way back at like 6, and then I settled on number 4. Had his best statistical year this past year, almost 1,700 yards from scrimmage, a massive 16 touchdowns. Rushing yards, I mean, they're nothing to like cry home about, but 900 yards is pretty good for him. 5.0 average, very good for a guy who gets almost as many receiving looks. I have Alvin Kamara at number 4. Okay. I just looked at the other running backs I had ahead and felt like while they're not as versatile as Alvin Kamara, I think they're a better pure running backs, even the one guy who's very similar to him. But I'll give Kamara his dues. I think I shit on him pretty badly last year, probably because I had him on fantasy the year before and he was not good. He was super inconsistent. And then this year he was just phenomenal. Like, yeah. I mean, he had not.
It's kind of hard to shit on.
He had 21 total touchdowns, I should have said. Yeah, because he had 5 receiving, 16 rushing. So he's a monster. I think it's interesting what people think now that Drew Brees is gone, because apparently Drew Brees is like the statistical leader for most like highest quarterback to ever. I don't remember what the wording of, but basically like he was the quarterback to target running backs the most in NFL history in like a season.
Okay, yeah.
So Kamara, like he got a lot of touches, which translates to a lot of yards, but he's a really strong player. One of the most exciting players up there with like, Tyreek Hill and stuff like that to watch. Yeah, I mean, I could go on and on. He's just really, really fast, really good. He has pretty good vision too. I didn't know if he was going to be a good pure runner. And I think what my issue was with him, not to go on a 20-page essay here, but
go ahead. You're already on your way.
But I think I was kind of bringing him down when he was with Mark Ingram, because I felt like they were kind of a duo where Ingram was the running back and then Kamara was a receiver playing running back. But Kamara proved me wrong, man. I've been wrong before, and he had, like I said, a hell of a season. And I think he's actually going to see more production now with presumably Jameis Winston at quarterback. Because I don't think they want him holding on to the ball like Drew Brees did, getting all those dropbacks. So we'll see. But I know I said a lot that makes him sound like he should be like 1 or 2, but I think number 4 is a good spot for him in my list.
I actually, my favorite thing of the whole thing was like where you said, "Oh yeah," and I've shit on Alvin Kamara, the guy that puts up 21 total touchdowns, and you still find a way to shit on him the past season. That's Dakota right there for you.
Yeah.
I do have Kamara a little higher. I'll leave it be till I get to him. My number 4 is actually I can tell where you guys are going that we weren't thinking the same way, because my number 4, he was a guy who was tough. He was the toughest one on this list. Because, he was my number 1 last year. But, he didn't even play this past season. And I thought it would be a disservice. It would be a disservice to the 3 guys I have ranked ahead of him who had incredible seasons to put him ahead of them. And I thought the same thing with Chubb. But then I went back to one of my pillars of rankings is if I started my team with you. And Chubb, we mentioned, doesn't have to be that receiving threat. This guy is the receiving threat. So if I was starting my team, he's pretty close to the top of my list. My optimism for next year is still fairly high. They have a horrible offensive line and we'll see what happens with Darnold. But number 4, I went with Christian McCaffrey. So obviously he was, 1,000 yards of receiving, 1,000 yards rushing 2 years ago. He got hurt this year, barely played.
Yeah.
And he's still, he was number 1 last year, and I wouldn't argue at all if either of you guys had him at number 1, 2, or 3 or whatever. But I thought of more of a respect to the 3 guys ahead of him who had incredible seasons, but it's just the injuries with him. His offensive line's trash, but I think Darnold is going to prove that offense in general, and I think they're going to be a little bit better because, listen, Carolina hasn't had much in terms of quarterbacks in a couple of years, so we'll see how the offensive line holds out. They re-signed Moton, but that's about the only solid offensive lineman I think they have. But the guy's such a lethal weapon. You're talking about a number 1 receiver on most teams, and arguably the best running back in football. So when you're talking about that mixed in together, I know he's coming off the injured year, but he's way too good. And this is respect to him. He's a top 5 running back, even though he didn't even play last year pretty much. So I went with Christian McCaffrey number 4.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I can understand your logic that with him and Saquon not playing, that they should be behind players who proved what they can do this year. But I think some of his stats are an exception to make me have him a little higher. So
fair enough. Hey, listen, you both listen to guys that I have a little higher, and it's more respect to them. All 3 of the guys I have ahead of them had incredible years that deserve to be up in front of a guy that didn't even play pretty much last year. So,
fair enough.
Fluri, let's get right into the top 3, baby. Get a little exciting. What do you got?
Well, you've created a lot of segues for me. My number 3 is Christian McCaffrey. Yeah,
that's what I do.
McCaffrey.
Oh, look at him repping the jersey.
Well, he got me to the fantasy championship 2 years ago, so I always buy the jersey.
I do. Nice.
Fair enough.
It was him my number 2. I went back and forth with the reason he's number 3 is just because of the injuries, man. Last year he had the high ankle, the shoulder, and the quad. It's just tough because it's not too often that running backs get less injury prone throughout their years. I don't know if that's ever happened. When you have these little nagging, it's not like he just tore his ACL once. These little nagging injuries start adding up. It's not good. But with that being said, in 2019, he had that 1,000 season, which was just fucking ridiculous. I mean, he's like Marshall Faulk, but even more explosive and quick.
Yeah.
So I have high faith in them. The Panthers suck. I don't have any faith in Darnold, but I do have faith that he can dump the ball off to McCaffrey. So,
I wouldn't say they suck, but they're not the best.
My expectations are a little limited.
They suck.
Let's
call it how we see it on this podcast, man. They suck. They're gonna suck.
I'm not a Panthers fan.
I don't have faith in their organization as a whole, and let alone the team, except for Christian McCaffrey. But I think number 3, I see what you're saying, Timo. It's hard to put him above people when he was hurt all last year. But the year before that, I mean, he had 1,000-yard rushing and receiving. So I'm going to just say he had 2,000-yard seasons. He played last year. He deserves number 3. He's another one of those freaks, mate. He's got great vision. Alvin Kamara, like you mentioned, had great vision. He has great vision. He's like a quicker version of Alvin Kamara and a better receiving back than Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara is great, Christian McCaffrey is just a little bit better. So yeah, that's where I have him, number 3.
I have no gripes. I still look at him as one of the best fundamentals in football. It was just more of the disservice to the 3 guys ahead of him who gave me strong reasons to push him ahead. But even McCaffrey, and you mentioned this with injuries, he's played 16 games all 3 seasons before this in his career. And this year he played 3 games in an injured season. He still put up 6 total touchdowns, which is just bonkers.
Ridiculous. I know.
Bonkers. Yeah. This guy just in and out of the lineup. He's just getting rehabbed all the time and still managed a way to put up 6 touchdowns. I could probably come up with a list of incredible football players that played nearly all season last year that didn't put up 6 total touchdowns. So I don't have any issue with McCaffrey being anywhere in the top 4. It's just last year and really the Panthers' optimism. He's going to be great, but I think the other guys I have in front of him are in better situations, and they had a better season last year. So, Dakota, let's crack your top 3. What do you got for me?
Yeah, I mean, rolling right off what Fluri was saying, I had Christian McCaffrey, number 3.
Okay. Oh, so we're all on the same page pretty much.
We're all vibing.
Yeah.
All right, I can dig that.
We're vibing. Now, I got to stir the pot. As usual, we always got to make it spicy.
Love to.
Now, Tim, I know you're not that great at math, but
that was a necessary shot. But sure, go ahead.
The reason I have McCaffrey, who, like you said, only played in 3 games last year, above Alvin Kamara, is because in my eyes, Alvin Kamara had his best season last year. I think you would agree, and he had about a little over 1,600 yards from scrimmage. And like I said, I know you're not super good at math, but Christian McCaffrey had almost 2,400 yards from scrimmage 2 years ago. Alvin Kamara had 2/3 of the amount of total yards McCaffrey had. And McCaffrey had 19 touchdowns that year. And last year, when he only played in 3 games, he still had 6 touchdowns, still had 200 rushing yards, over 100 receiving yards. Like, even when he wasn't playing, he was getting numbers. Now, like Flurry said, I am a little worried because, I mean, I've seen time after time players who have, like we were saying, those little nagging injuries that, I mean, I look at, I forget why he was on my Instagram the other day, but Jeremy Macklin popped up. He was a receiver that had, towards the end of his career, so many stupid little injuries that he just retired early. Like, he couldn't finish out his career.
Yeah. Remember Arian Foster, man?
Yeah, Arian Foster, great example. You hate to see that, but I think McCaffrey is built strong enough. Like he's like 0% body fat.
That's true.
He's built strong enough, and he rehabs super well from what I understand. So I'm confident he'll be good. But it's definitely a little worrying that he did have so many different small injuries. And I mean, I've had a high ankle sprain before, and that shit doesn't go away unless you let that heal completely. So, but yeah, I just look at, I mean, Kamara and McCaffrey are right there. I would say the 2 best like dual threat running backs in the league. I just give a slight edge to McCaffrey. I just think he's able to put the team on his back more than Kamara is in my eyes, because McCaffrey is that offense, and they have some good, playmakers at receiver and stuff, but he is that offense.
I mean, I'll agree with most of what you said, but your argument about the little injuries adding up with McCaffrey and to be worried about, I think is a thing. Alvin Kamara doesn't miss games. He hasn't missed any games, and he is so durable. I'll get to him in a second because I feel like you're putting too much respect on this guy's name for no reason at all, but that's what you do. So I'll leave it as is. Get to my number 3, guy who had a hell of a season last year that I think Flurry already mentioned, went for over 1,500 yards. Now, he is in that injury concern boat. And for running backs, that is a problem. And he has had this injury concern his entire career. He's missed a lot of games his entire career. Since he entered the league, and he nearly missed his entire rookie year. But I'm not going to ignore the fact that he played behind a garbage offensive line. Still managed to put up 16 rushing touchdowns. Yep. He's a versatile guy, very versatile. He gives you that receiving element. He is the offense. I think when they brought in I'm blanking the guy's name, the offensive coordinator from the Vikings. He's a very run first coordinator. And you know what? I think
his correct stats. It's good to know.
Oh, get out of my mind. Get out of here, man. I don't know the offensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings. Kill me. The guy is the offense there. I think a lot of the passing game has grown from his availability and his dominance. I don't think Kirk Cousins is any superstar, but he throws to 2 studs his entire career, and he's got an awesome running game. That is the number 1 priority for that team. So Dalvin Cook is my number 3. Again, this is in the ratio where these top 3 guys had incredible years last year. And I can't ignore the fact, he went for almost 1,600 yards. He was second in the league in rushing yards. And I know Dakota brought up the ridiculous, nonsensical reasoning that, this is a weird year. We're only Jonathan Taylor, the 3rd most rushing yards at 1,100 yards. That's weird. So 1,600 yards.
Over 1,000. It is a weird year.
Yeah, so I hope 1,600 or 15.5 yards is an acceptable amount for you. So
that's great.
He gives you that receiving element. He's a stud. It's the durability that worries me. And the fact that offensive line is trash, and I expect it to continue to be trash, has me worried about his injury concerns. So unlike the guys I had in front of him, who you could have already mentioned, one of them, the guys I have in front of him don't get hurt, and their production is incredible. So I'm a little more confident going forward with them. So that's why I have them ranked a little bit higher. So let's get down to the last 2. Flurry, what you got for me?
Well, I got Alvin Kamara. I have Christian McCaffrey ahead of him, but again, the injuries concern me more with McCaffrey. I think Alvin Kamara.
You come back whenever you want. You're an intelligent guy. You keep going. I just wanted to let you know that.
I love Kamara. I think he's awesome. I do think he's somewhat of a lesser version of CMC. I don't think he can do all the things that Christian McCaffrey can do, but I think you mentioned this, Dakota. He's just fun to watch. Like his ability to run, he reminds me of like an Eric Dickerson type runner. Like he's just enjoyable to watch. That Christmas game, especially when he had the 6 touchdowns, the Christmas cleats. He got fined for him, but wore them anyway. Like I love that.
Yeah, who gives shit?
Not to interrupt you, but I just remember.
Go ahead.
I just remember checking fantasy football that day, and I saw the schedule for somebody else's game, and I was like, who the hell is putting up all these numbers? And I saw Alvin Kamara. Didn't he have like close to like 100 fantasy points or something insane? Like
it was something ridiculous. Yeah,
probably. I don't know.
I was like, what the fuck is going on? It was 7 touchdowns, right? Wasn't it something?
It was 6.
6? Yeah. Like what? That was crazy.
I remember Sean Payton kept him in there. They were up by so much, and he put him back in at the goal line so he could get.
He's so disrespectful for that.
That was awesome.
I love it.
I love it. It was like Madden when you're trying to get all those tutties.
When are you ever going to be in a position where your player's going for 6 touchdowns? You keep them out there and you go for it.
Sure.
Facts. Sure. But his vision. I think you mentioned that too, Dakota. His vision is amazing, and his versatility. I mean, last year 932 rushing yards, 750 receiving, 16 rushing touchdowns, 5 receiving, 5 yards per rush.
Yeah.
I mean, complete back. I think he's going to do awesome. The Saints. I mean, we'll see without Breeze, but I think Kamara. He's going to be like the focal point. He's going to be like the Dalvin Cook of that team. So I think he's poised for a big season.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have any arguments for having him at 2 because I considered him at 2 as well at one point. And like I said, I just think the guy I have at 2, and then I just, like you said, I view McCaffrey as the better of those 2, so I just gave him a slight nod. But yeah, he definitely surprised me, proved me wrong. I didn't think he was gonna be able to do this as a starting running back and put up all these numbers, but he's doing great work. Tim, who do you have at number 2? I'm assuming it's the same guy.
It is the same guy. Me and Flurry know what we're doing. We have it together.
Okay. Oh, so
you know what this is?
We have it together over here.
Gotta take this as a note. If you take an extra week to get stats together, you could have a correct top 10 because Flurry's been on point with most of his stuff.
No, see, my top 10, my top 10 was locked and loaded 2 weeks ago. I didn't need to make no changes.
You probably should have made some changes.
You probably scribbled your whole thing like 5 minutes before we started and said, I just gotta put some players in order.
Yeah. So my number 2, as Flurry already mentioned, he gave a great spiel about, is Alvin Kamara as well. The guy is a stud as a receiver and a runner. He's durable too, which is, I mean, the comparison with him is obviously Christian McCaffrey. They play in the same division. They're receiving, rushing nightmares. You're probably looking at the 2 most versatile running backs when it comes to receiving and rushing since Marshall Faulk, and they're playing together at the same exact time. Where McCaffrey, I'll give him the slight edge because he's proved to do it on a team where he's only the guy and there's not much talent around him. Where Kamara's been on a team with just constant talent all around him. But here's the thing: I know Drew Brees retired. I don't think Kamara's going to have any issues. Drew Brees, if you watch this season, didn't have it. Like, he just didn't have it. I think Taysom Hill made up for a lot of the mistakes that Drew Brees was making. It was the fact that Sean Payton could sub in another quarterback at will or add another wrinkle to his offense to make it a little more difficult for the defense to adjust. Because I really think Drew Brees had a bad year and did not look like Drew Brees. Who I think is going to suffer the most out of losing Drew Brees will probably be Michael Thomas. When you're talking about a guy who's, I think, about to take over the offense, it's Alvin Kamara. When we talk about people, if I started my team right now and I wanted a running back, I want Alvin Kamara. Probably, I mean, it'd be a hard argument to put him above anyone else above him.
Bro, I'm dumping it off to Alvin Kamara every play.
He's a number one wide receiver for, I would say, 25 of the teams in the league. His stats receiving wise, hold on, it's got to put your hand down. Mr. Mullins putting a clinic through. His stats receiving wise since he's gotten in the league, 4 years in the league, he's never had less than 80 receptions per a season. That's just outlandish for a running back. He hit the ground running as a running back. He's a dual threat weapon that I think he gets disrespected because, we were all on the hype train of Michael Thomas last year. We all love Drew Brees. I think Alvin Kamara, now that Drew Brees is out, is going to be the reliable option for Jameis, who loves to turn the ball over. So just give the ball to an incredible playmaker and just let him do it. Yeah. And, dude, 21 touchdowns last year, 21 total touchdowns. If you succeed the 20 touchdown mark, I don't care what position, I don't care what year or what era or whatever you're doing. That's a hell of a stat right there. We already mentioned the 5 yards per attempt as a rusher. He's, been around that 5 yard mark every year of his career. He was 4.6, 4.7 the last 2 years. And his rookie year, he was 6'1", which was the best in the league. Yeah. Guys is just awesome. And I think he's going to get, not to say he's been disrespected, I think he's going to get more respected when you realize that he's going to continue doing this while Drew Brees is retired. He's a weapon. He's a guy you watch football. You just watch, nothing about football. And you're like, that guy is better than everyone else. He does stuff that I don't see other guys doing. And he's an absolute weapon. And another thing, and this is the reason why I put him over McCaffrey and why I have him so high at number 2. He doesn't miss games. He's missed maybe 2-3 games his 4-year career. He doesn't miss games. He's so shifty. He does not get that big hit on him. And he touches the ball constantly. He's constantly running the ball. He's over 150 carries pretty much every year. He gets over 80 receptions. He's had plenty of opportunities to get crushed, and he just doesn't happen. So listen, Dakota, you never surprise me. You always find a way to hate on someone for something, no matter who it is. So I'm not surprised that you have a little hate to throw at Alvin Kamara, but he has no reason to accept any hate.
I got to bring us to Flavortown somehow. We got to get some spice in this,
Listen, I love Flavortown. That was a weird reference there. I don't think that hit. I don't think that hit. I don't think that hit. So Dakota, go ahead. Tell me who your number 2 is.
Well, Mr. Mullen, I had my hand raised and you didn't call me, so I'm just going to call.
Now I am.
Okay. I will say, as a Michael Thomas fantasy owner last year,
trust me, we all know you yelled every week on the podcast about it.
I own them too. It's all right. I feel your pain.
Alvin Kamara is the best player on the Saints, but yeah,
without a doubt. Yeah, and that includes Drew Brees when he was healthy.
And I've admitted multiple times today that I disrespected him, and I'm aware of it. And I think he's bona fide workhorse for that team. I just hope he continues to do that. I mean, I like Latavius Murray as the backup. They're a good 1-2 punch, but it's like Alvin Kamara is the clear running back there. So
yeah, he's awesome. Dalvin Cook and Christian McCaffrey, you want to rank ahead of him? Fine. That's because they've proven to be the offense for their team. Kamara's had a ton of talent around him where he never actually had to be the offense. This year, without a doubt, I think he's going to excel as being the offense. So he's the guy next year we'll count at number 1. He's a favorite if it wasn't for the subhuman we have at number 1 who doesn't exist. Well, so before we get there though, Dakota, tell me number 2.
Yeah, before we get there, so my number 2, this honestly was the hardest one to put on my list, like as far as what position I wanted him at, because for me, and I'm sure you've picked up on this by now, I'm pretty big on injury concerns and across all positions. what's the phrase we always use? Your availability is your best ability or something like that.
Yeah, availability is best ability.
Yeah, something like that. So number 2, I have Dalvin Cook.
Okay.
You take him fully healthy, and fully healthy, there's 3 players in my eyes that are, as just straight up running backs, the best in the biz, and it's Henry, it's Cook, and I would say Saquon. But I feel like he surprises people with the fact that he also is a very talented catching running back. Like, I don't think people realize that he's a dual threat. Like, they just see Dalvin Cook like, oh, he runs people over, he's super strong, super fast. Like, he had he only had 3 almost 400 receiving yards, but it comes out to a total of 1,900 yards from scrimmage last year, more than Mr. Kamara, who played in more games.
If you want to go down that route, he had 756 receiving yards, which is almost double what Dalvin Cook got there, Mr. Dual Threat.
And Dalvin Cook had 1,500 rushing yards, which is almost double Kamara's rushing yards. But
I'm the same amount of yards per carry. Good going.
I'm just telling you why I have him higher. He had 17 total touchdowns, pretty damn. 16 rushing. It's pretty wild. And he had him those throughout the season, not all in one game. No, it's tough. I don't have a problem with Kamara at 2 over Cook because of the injury concerns, but I'm just looking at it this way. Like, even with injuries, obviously his rookie season he only played 4 games, but the last 3 seasons, he's still been able to play at least 11 games. So it's not what
11 games is not a lot.
It's more than half.
I would consider an injury season 11 games.
All right. Well, you had 4 as rookie, 11 second year, then 14 and 14. So he's getting there. He's getting better.
So the minimum amount of games that Alvin Kamara has played in his entire career is the most that Dalvin Cook has played in a season in his entire career. Is that what you're telling me?
I don't know, but Dalvin Cook's got far more yards than he does.
Yeah. Well. I don't know if you have anything else here, but considering me and Fluri both made the correct answer of having Kamara too. Yeah. Hearing your argument about Dalvin Cook makes me more confident in the fact that Alvin Kamara should be number 2. I like Dalvin Cook. I really do. Alvin Kamara, this was an easy.
Dude, the top 4, top 5 are kind of interchangeable.
I agree with you there.
Hairs here,
I agree. I don't want to talk down on Kamara because he's phenomenal. I'm just saying,
all right,
if we're gonna praise him so much for what he was able to do in 16 games and stay healthy and all of that, but Dalvin Cook had way more total yards than him, and he was only 4 touchdowns behind and played 2 less games.
Blank slate. Your team is
blank slate. Dalvin Cook's going to be
average.
A better player this year.
I would rather have Kamara though.
I would rather have Kamara.
I'd rather.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the injuries are definitely an issue, but fully healthy, both those players, I'm taking Cook.
Kamara can be, the workhorse, run between the tackles back and the receiving back. If you're starting a fresh team, I'm taking Kamara over Cook. Cook's a beast. Don't get me wrong, but
I think Kamara's going to have his opportunity to excel and be the offense like McCaffrey and Cook have already had. Now that Breeze is out, and I think Thomas is going to step back, and you're going to realize that Cook can catch the ball. That's cute. Alvin Kamara is the number 1 wide receiver on, I would say, 25 teams in the NFL right now. If you put him on any team, I would say there's 7 teams that have a number 1 wide receiver that's better than Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue that. Do you think it'll be a workload issue if he's the number 1 guy getting, all these touches?
No. I'm more confident in Kamara withstanding injury than I am Dalvin Cook and Christian McCaffrey.
I'm just saying, based on the workload that McCaffrey got, if we're saying Kamara is going to get that, but we'll see. I think he's a strong. He's he's shown me that he absolutely can handle it and doesn't give me any reason not to think he can handle it. So until that happens, I think he's going to be awesome this year, and he's going to make a run at number 1. So we'll see what happens. But Fluri, I think this is going to be an unanimous, pretty easy selection. So I'll let you break the ice and give me your first spiel, and we'll get the leftovers. But who is your number 1 running back? Should we say it on the count of 3?
Yeah.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Derrick Henry. Okay.
Encore.
So no way.
oh, this is awkward.
Oh yeah. Derrick.
All right, Fluri, tell me something great about Derrick Henry.
I mean, this is the guy I took the least notes on, but Offensive Player of the Year, 2,000 yards, 17 tutties, 5.4. This big motherfucker is running 5.4 yards a clip, man.
Yeah.
That's like Jim Brown in his prime. He's like our generation's Jim Brown.
Yeah.
I could say 1,000 great things about Derrick Henry. I think he's going to be the Russian king again this year. But I will say, he can't last forever. I think he'll get close to 400 touches this season.
Mm-hmm.
I brought it up earlier, man. People start falling apart. One of the biggest examples I point out, like Larry Johnson, I remember he got like 2 back-to-back seasons, heavy workload, fell off a cliff next season. Sean Alexander. It happened recently. Todd Gurley, Devontae Freeman.
Yeah.
Even Le'Veon Bell. You work these guys and you run them into the ground. They're not going to be great. I think he's going to be great this year, but I don't know how long. I mean, he's a freak of nature, so who knows?
He's not human. We don't know the medical history behind
figured
it.
out what planet he's from yet, or is that still?
He's a species undiscovered, so we don't really know the medical history to expect for him because we just don't know that species very well.
Yeah, still my favorite. One of my favorite like NFL pictures is just him and Deion Lewis standing next to each other because it looks like it was bring your son to work day. Because Deion Lewis looks like a child next to Derrick Henry.
I mean, go back to what Fluri was already hitting on. Like, he's played 5 years. He's never played a season where he hasn't appeared in at least 15 games. He's so durable. He's so big. He's coming off back-to-back seasons. I'm sorry, back-to-back rushing titles. Back-to-back seasons with over 300 carries. So you mentioned the 400 mark, which he hasn't hit. He came close to last year. But this guy's so big. And you know what? You watch him play, he doesn't get tired. Like, he gets better as the game goes on because then the defense starts getting tired.
That's true. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's a running style that I can't fathom. Like, I can't fathom how how he's going to make a career out of that, where he's just going to brutalize defenders until they get tired of tackling him, and he's just going to keep on dominating. But he's got everything you could possibly want. I think you actually hit him right on the head, which I didn't even think about. He does remind me of this era's Jim Brown. Like, he's just an unstoppable running back. In an era where we have Camaras and McCaffreys who catch the ball and do this and do that, Henry just runs the ball, and he's dominant doing it. He's a nightmare to tackle.
We're guaranteed one highlight reel stiff arm a week from him. It's insane.
Oh God, dude, that stiff arm or Josh Norman is one of my favorite plays ever of all time.
Yeah,
that stiff arm sends Josh Norman flying through the air.
Literally threw him like a rag doll. Like, it's insane. And can we take a minute to like appreciate his trajectory? Like, he went from his rookie year 490 yards, then to 750, then to 1,000, then to 1,500, then to 2,000. So he's on pace for 2,500 rushing yards this year. Is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah.
I think that's a projection.
Like, he's nuts, and it's not like this is something new to him. So, real quick, I just want to point out. So we had Nick on last year in our running back rankings, and he pointed out this crazy stat about Derrick Henry. He had in a high school 12,000 rushing yards. His senior year, he had 55 touchdowns.
Holy
153
shit.
in his high school career. Like, he's been doing this shit forever. It
just makes you think.
He's not from
You
Earth.
Look at him. Do you want to tackle him? No. If I don't even need to see him in high school, I can guarantee I didn't want to tackle him when he was in high school either.
Or middle school, or Pop Warner, or none of that. Flag? No.
I forget. I think it was what's his face? The corner for the Jaguars, UCF alum, just came from the Seahawks.
UCF alum, Griffin.
Yes, Griffin. Yes. So he was getting interviewed on NFL Network about how he signed with the Jaguars, talking about Urban, talking about Trevor Lawrence and all this. He got a big money deal. Talking about the rebuild. And one of the questions they asked, like a national market, just to a random, got big free agent to an ace. One of the questions they asked is, "What are your thoughts now that you're going to have to tackle Derrick Henry twice a year?" And you're like, you know what? When you're interviewing corners for the Jacksonville Jaguars, then Derrick Henry was really no business to even be mentioned in the interview. But when you're that dominant, that listen, you're in the AFC South, the first thing that pops in my head is now you have to tackle Derrick Henry. Like, that's it. He's something on everyone's mind. Like, he's just so dominant.
Yeah.
We talked about in other rankings when we did Aaron Donald, Quentin Nelson. It's that little cluster of like, these are if we did top 10 players in the NFL I'll nominate Derrick Henry with Quentin Nelson and Aaron Donald. He's in there too. He is a dominant football player that other football players don't want to play against.
He can take over the game, man. It's crazy. Like
in a passing league, yeah.
He gets better as the game goes on because the defense gets tired. They don't feel like hitting that big body.
No, and he loves it. It's like he lives off. He's like, every time you punch me, I just get stronger. He's like, he's like Kirby from Smash Bros. He just takes in your power and energy and just dishes it out to you 10 times stronger.
Absolutely.
I never thought we'd have
He's
Smash
a
Bros.
force.
But I'll take it.
And listen, you know what? You go over 2,000 yards. That is something. And now it's more of a passing league. It's going to be more of a rare. I mean, I think he's the 7th guy to do it. That is going to be something that's going to become more rare and rare as it becomes more of a passing league. And if I was going to bet on the next guy to do it, I have no reason not to bet against him doing it again.
That's what makes it more impressive is this day and age when it's all passing. This guy rushed for 2,000 yards last year.
You build your offense around it.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
I'm excited to see what happens with Julio and AJ Brown there, but it's Derrick Henry's team. And Dakota, I know we all, we're gushing over Derrick Henry and didn't even let you speak, so I'll let you have your moment here.
No, I mean, I think you guys did it on the nail. I mean, to me, the fact that he's 6'3", 247 pounds, and like almost all of his seasons, he's had at least one run over 75 plus yards. Like last year, he had a 94-yard run. 2 years ago, he had a 99-yard. Imagine that man running 99 yards. I'm not even going to try and catch him. Like if you try to tackle him, that's just like a moving truck. You can't stop it. Like,
he's a refrigerator. He's a refrigerator with a football. That's what he is.
Semi-truck on steroids.
Dude, he's got breakaway speed too, man.
Which is nuts. He's marvelous.
He hits some of those holes, and you just know like he's going the distance because not a single one of those corners or safeties want anything to do with that.
No. I thought he was a bust after his first 2 years. I was like, this guy sucks.
I wouldn't say bust, but yeah, I definitely we were waiting because that's when like the whole DeMarco Murray thing when he went to the Titans after the Eagles, and we're like, oh, they're gonna split carries. We'll see how Henry does, and then. But like I said, with the trajectory thing, like he just fucking took off. He's like, all right, I'm gonna start running the show here.
Yeah. When it comes to power running, he's giving you. We said Jim Brown. He's Earl Campbell, Jim Brown. He is that power runner. Which you know what he's playing. He plays a game that is 50 years in the past. But you know what? It's dominant in this NFL too because he's just unstoppable.
Off the rip, does anyone know what the highest NFL total for a season is for yards per game? Because he had 126 yards a game last year. I feel like that's got to be up there.
That's up there. I know Barry Sanders had a crazy good season.
Yeah, when you're averaging over 100 yards per game, you're doing something right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very. Who won MVP this past year? Was it Rodgers?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, quarterbacks.
You can't have these freezing cold, idiotic opinions and then not even know who won the MVP last year. Some people are going to start to realize that you don't know what you're talking about.
No, it was a question to you, and then I answered the question myself because I said Aaron Rodgers before you spoke. So
Henry was Offensive Player of the Year, but as a running back, that's impressive.
Yeah, Rodgers had a hell of a season.
Listen, we gave, if I'm correct, we gave AP the MVP after he went over 2,000 yards. I don't see any reason not to give it to Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I don't really have much to add on him. He's just Tim, you like to use the word amazing a lot in these episodes, but I think the word amazing does him a disservice. He's beyond that. There are no words.
A species of human we haven't discovered yet.
We're
still
brand
waiting.
new species of nuts. Just out.
Just incredible.
But yeah, I think that's we had a little bit of arguments with our Kamara, Jonathan Taylor, but for the most part, I think there weren't really any outliers. Like we all had pretty much the same players, just in a different order.
Well, me and Fluri did. You had Jonathan Taylor not even in your honorable mentions, and you cannot excuse that.
I did have.
That was pretty bad.
David Montgomery.
David Montgomery, who didn't even come close to sniffing the stats that Jonathan Taylor was putting off.
Actually, I said AJ Dillon by accident. So yeah, I guess I was pretty disrespectful to Jonathan.
That was just more proof that you have no idea what you're talking about. But Flurry, it was an absolute delight. Yeah. Appreciate having you on.
Oh, it was a delight.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Oh yeah, he was on my page. You know, he's a smart guy. We give him an extra week of research, and he'll figure some things out.
If we would have given him 3 weeks, he would have probably had closer to my list. But
no. If I had amnesia him for 3 weeks, maybe he would fall back to that that outlier.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, good list, good stats. So Derrick Henry, far and away the number 1 running back in the NFL. So one thing we could agree on, at least.
No doubt.
Well, it was a great talk. I appreciate doing it with you, Fluri. You're welcome back whenever.
It was a lot of fun.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, man. You did a good job. I liked it.
Appreciate it.
You got a good job from Mr. Maughan. Doesn't that make you feel good?
Dakota's still waiting for a good job.
I'm still, my hand is still raised. You still never called on me.
Yeah, class is over.
Class is over. All right. Catch y'all later.
All right, peace, boys.
Peace out, everyone.